Can we please stop doing this? How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about yet another transformer beating up on a woman in MMA. Now, this particular fight was done by Combat Global. I mean, I'm not really sure how to pronounce that. It's combat with an E on the end. Combat. I'll just say combat. Combat Global in Miami. Now, the fighters were Elena McLaughlin, 38 years old, and Celine Provost, 35 years old. Now, Elena is the transgender, and Celine Provost is a natural-born woman. This is really crazy, but it didn't just start right here. It started a few years ago when you had Fallon Fox. Remember that person beating up on different women in MMA? It's really, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see a man beat up on a woman. It's just not right. It's bad enough that we have these women in sports like track and field, weightlifting, and things of that nature that are dominating the women, getting gold medals. You have guys that were like at the end of the bench in basketball, never got on the field during track and field, couldn't lift a shoe off the ground and weightlifting in their former class when they were identifying as male, because they were born as male, but then they become women, and all of a sudden they dominate. They go from being zeros to Olympic heroes. You understand? So it's bad enough seeing that, but when I see men getting into like beating up on women, I just don't want to see it. I'm not going to watch it, period. But it started with Fallon Fox, and I knew that that person would not be the end, and here we are with quote-unquote Elena McLaughlin. This fight ended with a rear naked choke. I like the second round, right around then, close to the third round, rear naked choke. I mean, once you're on the ground and in that position where you're getting choked out by a man, if you're a woman, what are you going to do? Not much you can do. It was really bad to see, and the lady was bleeding out of her mouth. It was terrible. If I could find footage of that, I'll link to it in the box. But please be warned, it's difficult to see a man strangle a woman almost to death to win the match. But anyway, so obviously the transgender person won their very first MMA contest ever. The person they beat, Celine Provost, is a 10-year veteran in MMA. But the transgender person just started fighting earlier this year. I'm talking about, it's like, okay, I'm going to just be a transgender fighter at 38 years old randomly. And they win their very first match out. During the fight, from what I'm reading, the actual woman was landing punches, but it was like, it was nothing. Punches just bouncing off this person. Because again, you have a man, a biological man, XY man, whatever they call themselves, that's their business. They can call themselves the Easter Bunny, Daffy Duck, Scrooge McDuck. I don't really care what they call themselves. At the end of the day, XY chromosomes mean you are a man. XX means you are a woman, period. That's it. This person has XY chromosomes, they're biological man, and they beat up on a woman. Now, let's talk about the transgender person, Elena McLaughlin. I'm not sure what their birth name is. I know it's not Elena, but let's talk about them right quick. Now, I'll place a picture on the screen before you so you can see it before and after. Are you seeing this? Do you see this? I'm not making this up. This is a real picture, before and after. Same tattoos and everything, just with, some weight loss, obviously, in the after picture. But that's them before. This is a combat veteran you're looking at. A combat veteran, U.S. Army Special Forces. They were in Afghanistan, and they were a legit war hero. I don't want to talk about what they did in the past because I don't like what they're doing right now. But when they were in the military, when they were in the Army, they were a legit war hero, combat veteran, saving lives in Afghanistan. You're talking about fighting terrorists in Afghanistan, hands, feet, pistols, rifles, whatever. You go from doing that to now you're an MMA fighter, beating up on women. Tell me how that's fair. Anyone that has, they say, trans women are real women, they support trans rights. Explain to me how that's fair. How are they going to transition away from being a combat veteran in the Army for 7 years to now they are transgender and they're MMA fighter beating up on women. Tell me how that's fair. I'll wait. I got all the time in the world. I promise you I do. But until we get an answer to that, I just will digress. The point is that we have a U.S. military combat veteran, decorated veteran, medals. You have that person now fighting in MMA against women. Now, let's go back a little bit further beyond them being in the military, special forces, decorated veteran, fighting terrorists. Before that, they had problems with sexuality early on. I'm talking about when they were a little kid. And I understand why they're not necessarily right mentally. I think what's going on here is a mental problem. That's my opinion. I'm no doctor. I don't know this person, so I can't diagnose them, obviously. But my humble opinion, my thought process, my viewpoint is that they have a mental problem. Back to their childhood, they had issues with sexuality or whatever, and their parents were trying to get them into conversion therapy, and they did this thing where they were trying to have them spend masculine time with one of the like a farmer's son, and then the farmer's son ended up molesting them, like assaulting him when he was a little kid. So obviously that's going to screw your mind up. And then before the military time, I suppose, that the guy or the girl, whatever they want to call themselves, Elena, was on the phone with the mother, and they said, well, I guess I'll go die in the war. Kind of like, you guys don't want me here, you hate me. I guess I'm going to go die in the war. And then the mom was like, well, maybe you should. So when you hear stuff like that from your mother, when you're dealing with some problems with sexuality and you got conversion therapy, it's not working. They seem you to have quote unquote masculine time, and they make it worse, making you even more confused by sexually assaulting you, a male sexually assaulting a young boy. Obviously, you're going to have problems. There's some mental problems there, and you probably, speaking about the transgender guy, have issues with the mom. So it doesn't surprise me that as an adult at 38 years old, he wants to become a woman, because what they say, you often become what you hate, and then he wants to go out here and fight women. I think it's him just taking out the anger he has towards his mother on these women. You can't tell me in any world that it makes sense for a U.S. military combat veteran, many years, a guy that will fight, I'm talking about Taliban, ISIS, all of that, to then go and fight women. Like, that's going to be the same. There's no kind of weight loss he can do, no kind of testosterone, estrogen, whatever kind of treatments you got to do. There's nothing you can do that'll put you in the same playing field as women. And to all the feminists, all the equal rights people, tell me how that makes sense. Oh, trans rights. Well, how about this? How about women's rights? Just because people feel like certain groups should have rights afforded to them does not mean that that group has a right to intrude upon others' rights. Women should have rights, just like the whole We Spot kerfuffle out there in Los Angeles. Remember that guy that he was talking about, oh, I'm a transgender person. Meanwhile, he has his full genitalia. He's swinging it around in front of women and girls because, oh, I'm a woman. I can do whatever I want. No, you're not, sir. You are a man. Take your stuff. Take your whatnots over there. Don't bring that over here. These girls underage, 12, 13 years old, do not need to see that. They don't need to see it. But as I close, I want to say this. I'm not saying that all the Transformers are perverts, but you got a lot of them that will take advantage of certain laws that are supposed to be for so-called equality. They're going to abuse these laws. If you say that you could be transgender and then compete, you're going to have guys that just go in there to beat up on women. Beyond it not being fair, not being equal, you're going to have guys that are going there to intentionally just attack and beat up on women. No other reason. It's not about competition. It's not about trying to make a living for themselves. It's not about nothing. It's all about trying to enact revenge upon women that they hate. It's all about trying to be a pervert. That's what's going on. So if we're going to protect women, if we're going to really do that, then let's do that. Let's not have these men, full grown, 38-year-old, probably got gray in the beard men fight women, period. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about transgender men fighting against women? Whatever your thoughts on that are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at with it. I said it's unfair. It's ridiculous. And if we're talking about women's rights and protecting women, this is not the way to go about it. This ain't going to do it right here. This is not going to, it's not going to suffice. Not at all, not in the least bit. So whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.